Hello everyone, welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is T Hunter. So glad that you are here with me today. I'm not going to be before you long. I will get right into today's topic, which, as you can see by the title, is a reaction video to Married at First Sight. Season 16 in Nashville. Y'all, it is 2023. I do not understand why adults still find it necessary to tell people, hey, I don't find you attractive in this experiment. If you are very selective when it comes to what you want your partner, spouse to look like, why go on a reality television show where you are going to be matched with someone that you've never met and you will not meet them until the day that you marry them? That's a huge risk. If physical attraction, physical chemistry is a deal breaker for you, Married at First Sight may not be the best show for you because you have no control as far as being able to select what this person looks like. Well, I mean, you could tell them what your type is, but there's no guarantee that you're going to get your physical type. It's a huge risk. So within the last week's episode, I'm noticing this common thread as far as the conversations around physical attraction between Kirsten and Shaquille, as well as Clint and Gina. So I'll just start with Clint and Gina. They were on a solo date. Clint was saying how wonderful this honeymoon vacation has been, and I agree. I don't know how you can top an all-expense paid trip to Jamaica, of all places. So yes, absolutely. Bells and whistles there. And then as he's talking about how well he and Gina have been getting along and how great that has been, the mood shifts. And Gina says, yeah, we do get along well. And also, I find it interesting that typically I don't vibe with people who are, redheads or have gentry features. And, that's what you are. It like doubles down. And I could see Clint's expression just completely changed. Like the smile dropped, the light in his eyes, dimmed a little bit. And I thought, what was the goal? I don't think a lot of people are going to respond positively or with enthusiasm and unspeakable joy if you say to them, hey, we get along really well, but I don't like your face. I don't like your hair color. Typically people that look like you, It's wonderful to have self-awareness as far as, maybe my type that I have a history of being drawn to in the past has not worked out for me. So I am willing to date someone, marry someone that doesn't look like, my type. But then to tell that person within a matter of days of knowing each other and you're married, hey, I don't find you attractive. It doesn't make for good honeymoon conversation, and it can't feel good to be on the receiving end of that either. When she said, how do you feel about that? Ultimately, Clint, he said, same. And Gina is not a blonde. And according to the previews for this upcoming episode that'll be airing this week, in front of the group, Clint and Gina get into this conversation again about physical attraction and physical chemistry and what they are typically attracted to. And one thing that I did not like was the way that the clips were edited. It seemed like Clint is just taking jabs at Gina's look out of the blue for kicks. When in reality, last week, Gina opened the door to have this conversation around, I'm not physically attracted to you. And then this coming week, the previews have shown that she mentions that they are struggling in the physical chemistry department in front of the other couples. I don't think people realize, or maybe they don't care enough to consider just how insulting, how upsetting, and how damaging it can be for your spouse to tell you, I don't like how you look, and then to do it in mixed company. So forget them even mentioning this in front of the group. They're mentioning this on a televised program. I just think that there are certain conversations and certain reflections that we should save them for Jesus or our journals, our therapists if we have one, trusted confidants, be that a family member, friends, whatever that looks like. Some things we don't need to tell our spouses. One of them would be, I don't find you attractive. Whether you have been married for several years, or you have been married for a few days, or this is an arranged marriage and you guys have never met each other prior to the wedding day. I just don't see a positive outcome with mentioning to someone you don't like the way they look. I feel like that conversation, it's commonplace among children because, you know, children, they are not emotionally mature. For the most part, they're not. They don't know how to use a filter, meaning everything that comes to mind does not have to come out of my mouth. Seeing that conversation go down between Clint and Gina, I just thought to myself, it is disappointing that she would voice that so early on. Now, I don't know if, you know, the liquor was flowing and so her inhibitions were, you know, completely gone as to, you know, the reasoning behind why she was that open and not necessarily as compassionate when she delivered that hard truth. So I don't know what that context is around why she felt the need to say it. It's off-putting. And not just in Gina's case, just in general. It's not a comment that most people will take well. Even those who like to say I have a sense of humor, or maybe I love a good roast. Deep down inside, if somebody tells you, for lack of better terms, I think you're ugly, that's going to hurt. There's nothing wrong with having a type. However, there's no guarantee that if you are to get into a relationship with the person that you would typically be physically attracted to, that you're going to see a healthy and thriving relationship come out of that match. We have no control over that. And I think that that is why most of these people who are signing up for Married at First Sight are doing so. Because perhaps the way that they have dated in the past, the people that they might have selected in the past, it wasn't working for them. So they felt the need to turn it over to the experts and the producers of MAFS to match them with the ideal of having a thriving marriage with someone that they can learn to be compatible with and grow together. The I'm not attracted to you comments, anything in that vein, especially mentioning it on television or, you know, amongst your castmates, it just reminds me of, you know, the schoolyard days where if you had no other reason to dislike a person, you immediately attack the looks. Well, you ugly. I hoped that that would not be the case in 2023. But clearly, we're still here. We're still having these conversations about looks. And instead of giving relationships a chance where you can get to know your spouse and potentially fall in love with the beauty of their character, or simply just not say everything that comes to mind. Unfortunately, that's not where we are. As far as Clint and Gina, they could definitely work on their filters and what they say and how they say certain things to each other, especially when it comes to something as sensitive of a topic as physical attraction and looks. So the other couple that I noticed this same concept with was Shaquille and Kirsten. So on the day of the wedding, as you know, she and her bridesmaids are talking and, you know, what do you expect? You know, what are your hopes? What are you most looking forward to about being married? You know, just over here, just, you know, shooting the breeze. And she said, I just hope he ain't got no bald head. And I'm like, no, because Shaquille is bald. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with having a preference. There's nothing wrong with having a type. But something as superficial as looks in comparison to fundamental characteristics, like, is he honest? Is he a hard worker? Is he kind? What is his relationship like with his family? How does he treat people that he's not related to who can do nothing for him? You know, instead of focusing on that, it's the, well, you know, typically I would be attracted to somebody that has hair, so I hope that I have a man with hair. Again, this may not be the show for you because you don't get to see the man and then pick him out and say, that's the one I want. You've relinquished that freedom to the experts the minute you signed up for the show. So it's one thing to mention it to your friends, but it's another to mention it to your friends on a television show. So Shaquille is going to see this later on. And even if Shaquille and Kirsten do make it, that's still gonna sting a little bit. No matter how self-assured a person is, telling them, oh, there's something about you that maybe you can or cannot control that I just do not like, because I just don't like how it looks. It's disappointing to hear that. No husband wants to feel like how I am is not enough to attract my wife to me. She just ain't feeling the kid. So Shaquille and Kirsten are sitting and they're talking during one of their honeymoon solo dates with the production crew, of course, filming it still. She mentioned to him, yeah, you know, I wasn't really attracted to you when I first saw you, you know, because of your bald head. But the more that we spend time together, get to know each other, you're growing on me. And it's like, okay, cool. But I could still see, you know, that look of, oh man, when she said that. And Shaquille had to digest that of, oh, you didn't find me attractive when you first saw me, despite the fact that I thought you were drop dead gorgeous. Last week's after party, another thing that gave me pause and I felt a little bit concerned about was Shaquille's admission that Kirsten's treatment of him, it varies depending on if the camera crew is around versus if they're not. So if they're not being filmed, Kirsten is not as affectionate, not as engaged with him, whereas when the cameras are on, oh, it's the, oh, you're growing on me, and, you know, physical affection, it's important to me. So, you know, maybe we haven't kissed, but, you know, we're holding hands, and see, I'm touching you. No, sis, you guys are sitting right next to each other, and his leg happens to be touching your leg. Now, if that's enough for you, okay, cool. But let's not paint this image of, I am an affectionate person, and when I get comfortable with you, I am going to display that affection, because that's not what's happening. And it's okay if she is being modest because of the cameras. Yeah, by all means, we don't need to see everything. It's okay for you to have some privacy before you, unleash the dragon. That revelation, I'm thinking to myself, that has to be not only disappointing, but also confusing. Because if someone is inconsistent in how they treat you, depending on who is around, then you have to decide whether or not that's something that you are okay with, whether that's something that you want to deal with for the rest of your life. If the goal of marriage is to be married until death do you part, are you okay being married to someone who, depending on what company is around, they're going to treat you differently? It can be tiresome, it can be exhausting. It's one thing to be intentional about the cameras being around, and it's another to be authentic, whether you are on camera or off. I would say my only concern when it comes to Kirsten and Shaquille this season is I pray that Kirsten isn't trying to put her best foot forward when she's on camera because she doesn't want to be seen as mean. But then when the cameras are not there, maybe you're treating your husband in a way that he could interpret as that's cold, that's distant, standoffish, mean. It's one thing to want to be a good person and to actually put in the work to show a good person is just who I am. And I'm sorry, I'm over here glancing at my notes. Just because you do not like someone right away, it does not mean that you have to be cruel, nor does it mean that you have to be inauthentic in an effort to spare their feelings and to protect your image of being kind. It's not a winning strategy to play to the cameras, because while I, as a viewer, am not there to see what happens when the cameras are off and the production crew has gone home for the day, your spouse is there. So they're the ones that get to see all of you 24/7, even after the cameras have stopped rolling. So it's better to be mindful of that context versus the, well, how am I going to look on TV by the time they get done editing this particular interaction? We'll see what happens the rest of the season. I just wanted to address that topic of filtering your conversation, being mindful of how you talk to people and how you talk about them, especially when you are being filmed. And also, it's okay for you to keep some details to yourself. Like, everything that comes up does not have to come out. I believe that is all that I have for today. If you have enjoyed this video and you enjoy content like this, please feel free to give this a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more content, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a future post. Thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.